Hello guys, welcome to the part 2 of this walkthrough tutorial series. In the part 1 of the series, I showed you guys how I created the intro scene for this motion graphic animation, as well as showing you guys my workflow. In this video, I'll be showing you the next scene that I created, and that is this one. Please, if you guys like this series so far, then please like and subscribe. And now, without further ado, let's get right into the video. With a new scene created, I imported my croc model and then I positioned it in front of the camera. Then I went ahead to adjust the camera, and then at the camera properties, I adjusted the safe areas so that the croc could be at the center of the scene. And then I adjusted the croc like so. Afterwards, I created a down to up animation by inserting my first keyframe, and then with a few frames forward, I went upwards to insert another keyframe to create this simple down to up animation. So I went ahead to insert keyframes to animate the strap. I wanted to add subtle movements to the animation. After a quick playback, I went ahead to create the rest of the animation. I wanted the croc to smoothly turn, showing other parts of it, and so I adjusted the croc a little and inserted keyframes to create that smooth turning animation. And then I adjusted the keyframes so that everything would turn out to be smooth. Once I was done and happy with the animation, I went ahead to adjust the channels and also to adjust the curves. And also I isolated the channels so that I can specifically change certain curves of the channels. And then I continue adjusting the keyframes on the timeline just to get the right balance in the duration of the animation. Then I began to modify the curve on the Y rotation channel. This was to make the animation look more polished and natural. Then I went ahead to isolate the Z rotation channel to tweak its curve as well. Then I went ahead to play the animation to check if I was satisfied with the results. After I was satisfied with the animation, I went ahead to create some balls. These balls are the fairy balls that you saw at the background of the animation. And then I proceeded to add an array modifier, increasing the count to the desired counts, and then I duplicated them several times. Afterwards, I applied the array modifier, and then selecting all objects, I separated them by loose parts. And then I went over to transform to randomize transformation, and then I began to play with the scale value as well as the XYZ rotation and location values to get the desired look I was looking for. Once I was satisfied, I went ahead to place the balls in front of the scene, and then I went ahead to position them individually in a manner that will look more desirable. Then I proceeded to add a hair particle system on the balls, and then I tweaked the hair length values. At children, I set it to interpolation, and then I went over to the forces to play with the Brownian values to add more curls to the hair. Afterwards, I began to tweak the amount of the children value, and then continue tweaking the Brownian values as well. Then I went over to the clamping section to tweak the clamping value to add more roughness to the curls of the hair. I continued tweaking the display amount of the children as well as the hair particle in general. Afterwards, I checked a quick preview of the hair particle, and then I went over to the seed value as well to play with it to get the desired look. And then at the roughness section, I began to tweak its random value so that I can make the hair look more softer and lighter. Then I went ahead to copy the hair particle modifier to the rest of the balls. So I wanted the crocs, when it turns, it ends slowly. So I went ahead to rotate it slightly to the left, and then I moved further in the timeline and inserted a new keyframe. After playback, I went to the graph editor to tweak the curves on the Z rotation axis. Afterwards, I smoothened the keyframes. Then I went ahead to animate the balls. On the first frame, I inserted my location and rotation keyframe. And then I went further in the timeline. And then I head over to the Object tab. And then I selected Randomize Transformation. I went ahead to play with the location and rotations X, Y, and Z values. Afterwards, I entered my last keyframe. After I was satisfied with the animation, I went ahead to assign materials to the balls. I wanted them to be bright and colorful. And then I wanted to add more dynamism to the materials on the balls. So I added a gradient color to it by bringing in the gradient node as well as the color ramp node. And then I proceeded into tweaking the colors on the color ramp. And this is what I did for the rest of the balls. So then I proceeded to add wind to the scene. I wanted to simulate the hair moving when the balls begin to float. I then proceeded into positioning the wind to face the balls. And then afterwards, I went into its property to adjust the strength values. Afterwards, I went ahead to add a turbulence force to the scene. I wanted to add a wavy motion to the hair whilst the wind was blowing. And so I proceeded into adjusting the turbulence force's strength values. After I was happy with the results, I went ahead to animate the turbulent force into moving from left to right. Then finally, I began to add light to the scene. I started by adding a point light, and then I began to tweak its values. Afterwards, I went ahead to add a spotlight as well. This will enable me to light up the whole scene. Afterwards, then I proceeded in adding an ADRI map to it. This was to make the whole scene natural. And so I took the values of the ADRI and then combined the lights in the scenes with it. Afterwards, I was satisfied with the results. And that is the end for the second part of this tutorial. Thanks for watching, guys, and if this was really helpful to you, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the part 3.